everyone, welcome to another English Solutions for Business Life video. Today we will be looking at the Global Intermediate, Pre-Intermediate book, Unit 5. And we will also be looking at the grammar section. In the grammar section today, we will learn what different uses of the verb have, as well as modal verbs, what are they, and how do they use them, and ing forms of verbs, and why do we use them. Also, present perfect. How do we form present perfect, and why? Well, let's begin by looking at some different uses of the verb to have. I have added a few examples, and I'm going to explain the rules by looking at the examples. So the first rule would be, or the first use of this form would be to talk about possessing or owning something. When something belongs to someone, we use the verb have. For example, she has a good voice. The good voice belongs to this person, to her. Also, an auxiliary, we can use this as an auxiliary with got to talk about possessing or owning things. For example, I've got 3 brothers and 4 sisters. I've got is the shortened form of have got. Have got, which is the same, just shortened. Also, another example, each worker has to bring their own money. We use have and to say what is necessary or obligatory. So, in this case, each worker has to bring their own money, or it's obligatory that each worker bring their own money. Another example would be Manuel has been to Paris. Has been is what we will call the present perfect. We will look at it in more detail in this video, but the present perfect is used for activities that have happened in the past, but at a non-specific time, and they can still be going on right now. In this case, has been, I have been, or Manuel has been to Paris, and well, his experience happened, and he still has that experience, even though he isn't in Paris still. And also, it happened in a non-definite or non-specific time in the past. Another example, did you have breakfast? Well, in this case, this is a question, and it's talking about an experience or an action. Here, the verb is have breakfast. We don't say did you breakfast, because it's not correct. We would have to add a verb, and in this case, because breakfast is a noun, so in this case we add have, and it makes this composite verb, did you have breakfast? So that talks about an action or an experience. Okay, so now let's look at the next part, modal verbs. I hope the last part was clear, and if you have any more questions, you can ask your teacher in class. But for now, let's look at the modal verbs. How do we use them, and what are they used for? Well, we use modal verbs to talk about the necessity, or when something is necessary, the necessity of an action. For example, we use must and have to for things or actions that are necessary. In the case of must and have to, they are both used with rules. When there's a certain rule, have to is often used for something which is necessary because of a law or because someone else says it. Okay, so let's look at some examples. I must do my homework. Must means that it's necessary or it's obligatory. Do my homework is in this case it's a necessity. I have to do my homework, or I must do my homework so I don't get a bad grade. We have to wear safety shoes to work. In this case, have to is, it's mentioning a rule or a law that the company has. Well, more like a rule. We have to wear safety shoes to work because it's safer that way. Otherwise, we might have an accident. In the case of must do my homework, it's not a rule that I do my homework, but it's necessary because otherwise I might get a bad grade. We can also use the negative form of have to, don't have to, for something that is not necessary, but it's possible or allowed. For example, we don't have to bring our car to work. We could also say we can drive our car to work. Since can is a modal verb that is used it's used to say that something is possible or allowed. And we use the negative form of can't, to say that something is not possible or allowed. So what do we mean by that? What do we mean by possible? That something's not possible or not possible? Well, it's the same as the meaning in Spanish when something is possible. For example, I can speak Spanish, or I can speak English, means that I am able to. It's possible for me to say that. You can buy food in the place or the restaurant that we're going to, or the plaza that we're going to, but you can't take the food inside the cinema. It's not possible, or it's not allowed. Alright, so those were the modal verbs. Now let's look at the ing forms in the grammar part of this unit. Ing forms, here in the book we looked at 3 different ways to use the ing forms. There are more, but in this case we'll explain them with examples so that you can understand them better. The first example: taking cold showers helps your blood pressures. Well, here, taking is a ing, it's a verb that it has the ing form. In this case, the ing form is the subject of the sentence. Taking cold showers. Taking cold showers can be used as the subject of the sentence, and here the actual verb is help, to help something, and the complement is your blood pressure. So taking cold showers, the action is actually the subject, and here we're saying that it helps our blood pressure, regulate our blood pressure, or lower it, or have a better circulation in our system. Okay, so that's one of the uses when we're talking about an action that is the subject of the sentence. We can also use the ing form as the object of our sentences. So here we already have a subject. It's John. John likes singing. Or, here the subject is John. The verb is to like. Well, he likes singing because singing is the object of the sentence. Singing is the action that he likes doing. Also, now let's look at the next example. Playing chess. Mary is good at playing chess. Here, we can use the ing form when it's placed after prepositions. Prepositions, they are, in this example, it's good at. Here the subject, of course it's Mary. Mary is the subject. The verb is the verb to be, and good at is one of the prepositions. We can also use bad at, interested in, tired of, excited about, instead of, in spite of, or bored with. Those are prepositions, and we can use the ing form after these prepositions. Okay, so those are different uses of the ing forms. There are more uses of the ing forms, but we will look at them later on in the units. Now let's look at present perfect. Well, here I added some rules that you might want to look at in this unit. Firstly, the how we use the present perfect for positive sentences, negative sentences, and question sentences. Here's the question mark. Here, well, the syntax or the formula for the positive sentences is the noun and the verb to have. Well, the present perfect is normally, well, we use the verb to have, the auxiliary verb to have for present perfect. And we also use the past participle of the verb. So the present perfect has the auxiliary have and the past participle. The past participle is, well, of regular verbs, it's the same as the past simple. And irregular verbs often have, well, different forms of the verb for past participle from compared to the past simple. Well, firstly, why do we use the present perfect? Well, we use the present perfect to talk about a non-specific time in the past or compare the actions that have happened in the past. We often use also the present perfect with ever and never to talk about experiences that happened up to the present. So up to today, those experiences have or have not happened in the past. Okay, so as I was saying, the formula for this form is the noun. In the case of the positive form, the noun, the auxiliary verb to have, and the past participle, and then the context or the complement of the sentence. For negative form is also the noun, then have not. We can use a shortened version, haven't or hasn't, and the past participle, then the complement of the sentence. Also, in the question form, we change it around a bit. We start with the auxiliary verb to have. We could also use has in the case of he, she, or it, but we use have for I, you, we, and they. Then we add the noun and the past participle after the noun, and then we add the complement of the sentence. Think that's a little bit confusing? Well, let's look at some examples to clear that up. For example, I have been to Japan. I have been to Japan, or I've been to Japan. I've been to Japan talks about an action that has happened in an unspecific time in the past. If we have a specific time in the past, we would say I went to Japan, like last summer or last semester or 2 years ago. I went to Japan 2 years ago. But here it's an unspecific time in the past. A negative form would be I haven't been to Japan. I haven't been to Japan would be the negative form of this sentence. Also, well, here's a question. Have you ever eaten Greek food? Have you ever eaten Greek food? As you can see, we start with the auxiliary verb to have, then the noun of this sentence. Here it's you, and we have added the word ever. As we mentioned earlier, we can use ever and never to talk about experiences that have happened up to the present. So, have you ever eaten Greek food? It's an experience that we're asking whether it has happened up to today. Up to today, has the person eaten Greek food? As you can see, we use the past participle form of the verb to eat to ask this question, and, well, for the present perfect. Okay, I hope those examples have been useful for you. If you have any more questions, you can ask your teacher during class. But that's it for today's video. I hope you liked it. Thank you for watching. We will see you next video with more English lessons. See you next video.